Do you ever feel like life has grown quieter? Not just around you, but inside you. Like the world is still spinning, but you've stepped to the side. Not with bitterness, not with regret, just silence. Maybe you've noticed. Phone calls don't come as often. The calendar has fewer circles and more blank space. Days blend together and nights stretch longer than before. It's not dramatic, it's not a tragedy, but it can feel like you're slowly fading from a life you worked so hard to build. You're not alone. Millions of older adults across the world, especially those over 70, carry this quiet ache in their chest, a fear they rarely say out loud. Am I still part of this world or just watching it now? And then comes the bigger decision, one that feels like a turning point. Should I move into a nursing home? Or would that mean giving up everything that made me, me? It's a question filled with fear, guilt, and grief. But what if, just what if, that place you fear could become a place of peace? A place where your story doesn't end, but finds a softer, richer chapter. Let me share a true story with you. It might just change how you see your own future. Fear number 1. I'm losing control of my life. John Coleman was a seasoned journalist from Australia, sharp-witted, independent, a man who had reported from war zones, political upheavals, and royal ceremonies. He never thought he'd end up in a nursing home. When the idea first came up, John resisted, hard. He thought of sterile white walls, a rigid schedule, his freedoms, his routines, his choices all being taken away. He feared he'd become just another bed number, a man to be managed, not respected. But after a medical scare and gentle pressure from his family, John finally agreed to a 6-month stay at St. Vincent's Marycrest, a small facility nestled in Brisbane. The first few days, he hated it. Everything was new. He didn't know the staff. The food was different. He missed his newspaper just the way he liked it. But then something strange happened. No one forced him to do anything. A young nurse asked him, "Would you prefer breakfast in the garden or dining room today?" A social coordinator offered him the day's activities list, but told him, "You're free to join us or just enjoy your book." And for the first time in a while, John felt seen. Each day he found that routines weren't cages. They were gentle rhythms. Instead of barking orders, the staff listened. Instead of being treated like a patient, he was treated like John. He still chose when to wake up. He still took his walks, now along shaded paths with blooming jacarandas. He even started teaching a small writing group once a week for other residents. Here's what John realized. Control isn't just about doing everything yourself. It's about having people who care enough to ask before they act. And sometimes sharing control is what gives your life more balance, not less. So if you're afraid of losing yourself, maybe you don't need to give up who you are. You just need a place that honors who you are becoming.
Fear number 2. I'm no longer useful to anyone. This fear is quiet. It doesn't arrive like a thunderclap. It seeps in, day after day, moment after moment. You wake up and no one's waiting. No one's asking for your help. No one's calling for advice or needing a ride or asking you to bake your famous pie. You begin to wonder, what am I for now? You used to wear so many hats: provider, protector, parent, planner. You were the one others depended on. And now, they seem to be doing just fine without you. That silence, it can feel like erasure. But here's what John Coleman discovered in his 6th week at the nursing home. One afternoon, he noticed a woman sitting alone under the frangipani tree. Her name was Edith. She was in her 80s, soft-spoken, nearly blind, and almost completely silent. Staff said she rarely interacted. John, curious and compassionate, decided to sit with her. He didn't press, he simply shared his own story, his memories, his fears, his questions. And to his surprise, Edith smiled. The next day, she asked for John, and the day after that, by the second week, others began joining them under the tree. What started as silence became a circle. John became, unofficially, the afternoon host, not because he was trying to be useful, but because he was being himself. That's the truth no one tells you. Your value doesn't disappear with your responsibilities. In fact, when the noise of duty fades, what's left is your essence, and that is enough. Studies from gerontology confirm this. Even small acts of connection, conversation, listening, presence boost health markers in older adults, not just for those receiving, but also those giving. You matter, even if you're not doing what you used to. You matter just by being, especially when being means offering kindness, wisdom, and patience in a world that's starved for it. So if you've been asking, what's left for me? The answer might be more than you ever imagined. All it takes is one chair, one story, and one person willing to sit beside you.
Fear number 3. I'll be surrounded by strangers. There's a strange kind of loneliness that can sneak in, not when you're alone, but when you're around people who don't know who you really are. This is one of the deepest fears many older adults carry when they think about moving into a care home. What if I'm just a number? What if no one there knows the real me? You've spent a lifetime building history, memories, quirks, jokes, routines. You've had your favorite chair, your morning rituals, your ways of making coffee just right. You've loved, you've lost. You've carried things no one else saw. And now, you might wonder, will any of that matter in a place full of people I've never met? That was John's fear, too. When he first arrived at the nursing home, he looked around the dining hall and saw dozens of faces, and no one knew his name. No one knew that he used to be a journalist. No one knew that he had survived a war. No one knew how deeply he loved jazz. And yet, within a few weeks, something shifted. It started with a harmonica. One afternoon, a group was gathered for music therapy. A facilitator handed out simple instruments, tambourines, maracas, a triangle. John, out of instinct, pulled a harmonica from his jacket. He hadn't played in years. But when he did, something magical happened. Heads turned, feet tapped. Even the quietest residents smiled. From that moment on, John wasn't room 214. He was John the Harmonica Man. People started asking about his music, then about his stories, then about him. That's when he realized something vital. Strangers don't stay strangers forever, especially when you share something of yourself. In fact, psychologists have found that one of the most powerful antidotes to institutional loneliness is self-expression, telling your story your way. Even in a new place, even at an old age, you can forge new connections that are just as real and sometimes more nourishing than the ones you had before. So if you're afraid of being surrounded by strangers, remember, you carry 1,000 ways to turn strangers into friends. You bring with you stories, smiles, skills, and wisdom that others are hungry for. All it takes is a harmonica, or a book, or a gentle hello. You're never too old to be known again. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment, I want to be seen. And don't forget to hit subscribe, because the next section could change the way you see aging and yourself.
Fear number 4. I'll be forgotten. This fear doesn't scream. It echoes. In quiet rooms, in holidays spent alone, in moments when the phone doesn't ring. You wonder, after everything I've done, will they still remember me when I'm not around to remind them? Aging can feel like fading, like a slow erasure of the life you once lived. The people you raised now have families of their own. Old friends have moved away or moved on. Photos gather dust. Letters go unopened. John Coleman knew this feeling. He had children, grandchildren, colleagues from years of journalism. But as the years passed, the visits became less frequent, the calls shorter. When he moved into the care home, part of him expected to vanish into the background, just another old man among many. But something changed when he began writing again. A young volunteer named Alice, who helped residents write letters, noticed John scribbling in his notebook every morning. One day, she asked. He told her he used to write editorials for The Australian, that he published stories during wartime, that he still had something to say. She encouraged him to share. She offered to type up his writings and post them online with his name. Weeks later, one of his essays, Growing Old with Eyes Wide Open, was shared by a national aging awareness campaign. Dozens of people commented. Former colleagues reached out. Even his grandson called and said, "I never knew you wrote like this." That moment changed everything. Not because he became famous, but because he realized we don't get remembered for being perfect. We get remembered for being real. Research confirms it. Older adults who find ways to tell their story through writing, audio, or even simple conversation experience less depression and greater self-worth. You don't have to wait for someone to ask about your life. You can offer it piece by piece, memory by memory. You are a living archive of love, of loss, of laughter, of learning. And as long as you share it, you will not be forgotten. If you've ever felt invisible, please write in the comments, "I still have stories to tell." And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. The next truth may be the most emotional of them all.
Fear number 5. Every day feels empty now. There's a kind of silence that's heavier than noise, a kind of stillness that doesn't bring peace, but ache. You wake up and ask yourself, what's the point of today? Is there still something left for me? This is a truth many elders carry quietly, even when the body is healthy, even when meals are served, even when the schedule is full. Life can feel hollow. This fear is rarely about death. It's about drifting. John felt it during his second month at the home. The excitement of a new chapter had passed. The smiles of the staff became routine. And in between the activities, the long hours of nothing stretched on. Then came Thursday mornings. That's when the home held wisdom circles, a group session where elders were invited to share reflections on life, love, failure, forgiveness. At first, John just listened. But one day, when the topic was regret, he raised his hand. He talked about the things he wished he'd done differently, people he hadn't forgiven, stories he'd never told his children. It was raw. It was real. And it moved the whole room. That week, 2 residents approached him and said, "Thank you. I felt that too." Soon, the staff asked him to lead a circle. He hesitated, then accepted. What happened next became the most meaningful part of his week. John wasn't just passing time. He was making time count. And more than that, he was helping others feel less alone. Target. Studies show that elders who feel a sense of meaning, even small, recurring moments of contribution, report significantly better mental health and even longer life expectancy. You don't need a pulpit. You don't need a stage. You need a reason. And sometimes that reason is simply this: to show someone they matter, to remind someone they're not the only one feeling what they feel, to offer your voice, not because it's perfect, but because it's needed. If you're waking up wondering what your days are for, try asking, who can I comfort today? Whose silence can I break? What truth do I still need to speak? Because even a single moment of meaning can give an entire day its shape. If you've ever felt the emptiness of long days, comment, "My life still has meaning." And don't forget to subscribe, because the closing message in this video is one you won't want to miss.
Final thoughts. You are not done yet. If you've made it this far, you've just walked through 5 of the deepest fears many older adults quietly carry. Fears of becoming a burden, of losing independence, of being forgotten, of waking up to a life that no longer feels like their own. And yet, look at you. You are still here, still listening, still searching. That alone is proof. Your story is not finished. John Coleman didn't expect his final chapter to be one of purpose. He didn't plan on finding joy and new friendships, healing through conversations, or discovering meaning by sharing his regrets. But life has a way of surprising us, especially when we lean into it rather than pulling away. So if you've ever found yourself asking, does anyone still see me? Am I still needed? Is there still time for something good to happen? Let this video be your gentle answer. Yes, you are seen. You are needed. And yes, there is still time for joy, for healing, for legacy. Every breath you take is an invitation to begin again, to offer kindness, to speak truth, to love deeper. You are not too old to matter. You are not too late to begin, and you are never too far gone to be remembered. We want to hear from you. Please write in the comments, "I still have something beautiful to offer." Your words may be exactly what someone else needs to read today. If this video moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who may be struggling with their own journey into older age. Together, we can rewrite the story of aging, from one of fading away to one of rediscovering light, meaning, and connection. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you in the next video.